Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Smile. Today's guest is Sheridan Rose Shaw. Sheridan is a powerhouse in the hairdressing industry and the sole creative director of Mama West. Celebrating 12 years of sobriety, she has channeled her addictive energy into creativity and business, transforming the inner west of Melbourne's hairdressing scene and making waves for 17 years. Sheridan's name is synonymous with creativity, community, and excellence, having scooped up numerous awards, including the Most Innovative Business of the Year, and landed a spot on the prestigious Australian Fame team in 2023. A true all-rounder in hairdressing, Sheridan's passion for creative cutting and vibrant colour is next level. As a salon owner, she is fiercely dedicated to nurturing the next generation of hairdressers, paving the way for a bold and inclusive future in the industry. Sheridan's motto is simple: life's too short for shit hair. And she's committed to elevating every client's experience while mentoring her team to be the best in the business. With her leadership, Mama West isn't just a salon, it's a movement. Now, Sheridan's life looks very different from 12 years ago, and she's here today to share her story. So with that, I would love to welcome Sheridan into the studio and onto the show. Welcome to Behind the Smile. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. So lovely to finally be here.
I know.
And to meet Frank. Like, what the hell?
Yes, he is. He's quite something.
He's the icon.
He is. He's the icon. He's the mascot. I mean, I don't really need to do much. I just kind of hit record and
Ta-da!
yeah, but he loves you. He's like literally right up there. I warned Sheridan before we started recording that he'd probably end up on your lap at some stage.
Please be my guest.
We'll see how we go. We never
be
know.
my guest.
Yes. He's a free spirit, that one. Oh my goodness. So you've had a busy morning, you were telling me off camera.
Yeah, so it started with an 8 a.m. meeting with Stuart Bain and Andrew O'Toole, who's one of the best hair photographers in the world.
So exciting.
We're in like prep season. We're 4 weeks out from shooting in July, and yeah, so it's disco time.
Amazing. And is that what an average day looks like for you?
I would say yes. I mean, we have been meeting fortnightly. And when I'm on the floor with clients, often it is those earlier meetings that are able to happen.
Yeah, it's the only time, right?
Yeah.
I get
Even
that.
with a sick little boy in the back room, we just make it happen, you know?
Wow. Oh my God. It sounds like you juggle a lot of hats, and I can't wait to hear how that all comes together. So let's kick it off with some nice, simple questions. We've kind of already talked about what does an average day look like, but maybe you can share a little bit more around that. I'd also love for our audience to know where you live and what do you do for fun?
Yes. Okay. So an average day looks and starts with some kind of breakfast, a coffee, meditation. If I can get a journal in, but I'll leave that for the weekends if I can't. And
So true, isn't it?
oh, well, I love writing, but my life is chaos from the moment I wake up to 10 p.m. It is pretty disco that whole entire time. So yeah, I need some kind of morning routine to center. And if I'm usually doing my social media marketing before I start work because I'm client facing as well and solving problems all day. So I'm just, yeah, it's business, it's parenting, it's all the things in one.
Amazing. What do you do for fun?
For fun, I'm a Pilates gal.
Yeah.
I love hairdressing. So I do like prepping hair pieces on weekends is something that I do a lot of at the moment for the last 6 months. Back to back, it's felt like, because I've just done 2 collections in a row, which is the first time I've ever done that before. So yeah, my fun is around wellness and it is around my work. So,
Awesome.
which, yeah, go hand in hand with my lifestyle, I suppose.
I love that. You may not know this about me, but I teach yoga at Core Plus.
Oh,
So
do
I'm
you?
around the Pilates girls
don't you
all
do?
the time. Oh, wearing a few hats as well.
See you, boo.
Dog mum. But with the Pilates, I'm curious to know, are you a reformer girl or a mat girl?
I was mat, and then my mat Pilates studio closed down, and then a new reformer studio popped up, and it used to be on the old shop streets. So I was like, support local, I'll go and support them. But now they've expanded and they're actually doing mat Pilates as well as breathwork on Sundays in my Mama West creative space, because we've got the salon and then we've got the creative space. So I've been doing mat lately, which
Awesome.
is so good to just be on the ground.
100%. And what about the breath work? Have you dipped your toe?
I love breathwork. So
Me
I've done
too.
breathwork for the last 8 years or something, and it's pretty transformative. I've been watching you doing your thing as well. So
Yeah.
pretty special.
Is that something that you were introduced to through the doors of recovery?
No, it's something I found. I've been doing it for 8 years, so I would have been about 4 or 5 years clean at the time, and I just found it, or it found me. I had this mentor in Bali actually, and I was doing this feminine masculine kind of energy courses, and she would run this weekly free breathwork session online, and it was just so transformative, and I'd done everything by that point. Like I really had tried therapy, talk therapy, tapping, like meditation retreats, like just give me the work, the steps multiple times. Like I just love any kind of work or self-development. So breath work has been something that I'm so busy now. I'm on to the next thing very quickly. So it's just so good to have that practice where I can drop into anything that I've been neglecting, which is often a lot. And a quick process so I can get back to my busy life and move through, the expansion, because it's always expansion in Sheridan Rose Shaw's life. So.
Gosh, I love that though. I do find that when I'm working with clients or speaking to other people in recovery, that once you get the taste for that, there's almost like that first awakening that happens. And then you open Pandora's box and it's like, you've just got to keep going.
Yeah.
It feels almost too uncomfortable to stay stuck once you start. That's been my experience anyway.
Yeah, agree. And you're never quite finished either.
Never,
right?
ever.
Yeah. And I think that's something I've really come to accept over the last 12 years of being clean and sober. I was always destination. And now this is just a lifestyle now. This is what I do. This is the actions that I make. So my little boy will be 7 in September.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a big time. And he was quite the surprise actually.
Really?
So very big surprise.
Were kids something that were on the cards for you?
I always saw myself as a parent. But me and my partner had been together for 3 months.
Wow.
So,
there you go.
It was on.
Yeah.
And, we're both at a pretty vulnerable time in our recoveries at that time of our lives as well. So we've done a lot of growing together.
Yeah, because you would have been, what, 6-ish years?
6-ish years.
Is my math okay around there?
7,
Yeah.
yeah.
And did you go through a little bit of a rocky patch during that time? Because they say that sort of…
Oh, my God. It was horrific. Like, it was the most horrific time of my life. Yeah, I ended up back when I first got clean, I was in a psych ward thanks to psychosis. But then at 5 years clean, I ended up back in the psych ward because I was doing some type of therapy, and it was some kind of brain spotting. Like it just pushed me over the edge. I wasn't ready to go there.
Wow.
And it just like my whole body was like, it was a bodily kind of experience. And I think because it was so body focused, it was like my mind's like, what's happening to me?
Did that happen over a progressive period, or was it just you had the treatment, you went straight in?
I went pretty hard and I was like, let's go. I'm ready to deal with whatever it is. But even she was like, are you using? Like, what's going on? So then I was like even more uncomfortable because I was like, she can't hold me here. She doesn't know what's going on. So then all my sense of safety was completely warped.
Wow.
And it was a really hard time.
How long did you go back into treatment for?
Well, what ended up happening there, so I was seeing her pretty consistently every week. And then I'd done a lot of work by then too. I'd worked the steps a few times. I had done a lot of therapy. I'd never done that kind of brain spotting where you're like going into spaces that you want to neglect. And then I ended up in South Pacific for a couple of weeks, which is a private rehab where you can focus on your childhood trauma, which is kind of what was coming up for me.
That's actually where I went.
Oh, did you really? Yeah, amazing.
Incredible.
It's a beautiful program, but for me, where I was at, was probably I'd done a lot of that work, and if anything, I probably just needed a holiday. Like I just needed to have a new experience that wasn't like, you know what I mean? Because the work that they were teaching me, I had already kind of moved through a lot of it. So if anything, I was like, what the hell am I doing here? And the therapist actually said at that time, you don't need to go. But I was like, but I'm fucked.
Where can I go that I'm going to feel safe?
That's right. And look, all in all, there was a sense of safety there. I didn't have my phone.
But then you're also around a lot of sick puppies.
Well, that was also it. But that was where I met Heath, which is now my fiance and my baby daddy. Wow. So it's like we're still together against all odds. So
the rehab romance.
Another one. Not the first one, but the second one actually worked out. So yeah, I think I must have been there
for a reason
for him, because that was the only thing that came out of that experience for me, which was, a really special experience as well. An experience I'd never really had with a man over time, because we're doing long distance, we're getting to know each other over the phone, we're writing each other letters.
Wow.
We had boundaries. Like it's just... You know what I mean? It was really...
That was your new experience.
That was the new experience. Yeah. It wasn't a holiday. I did have a holiday not too long after that, actually.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear.
Because I think that's the thing when you're in recovery. It's like I've got to do 70 million meetings even when I'm 5 years clean. And it's like, no, you've got to go and live your life.
I could not agree more.
Well, yes. The second I started doing that, it was like I fell in love. I traveled for the first time. I got another job. Like that's when my life started to open up in a way where, the eating disorder started to drop. Like it was because I was building a life that I wanted to live, not escape. So it was pretty, powerful.
Can I ask you on that? It's so funny. I was literally reflecting about this morning, that I didn't get sober to live in recovery. Now, that's not to say that I don't, I still attend regular meetings. Yes. I sponsor women. Yep. I do my stuff. Yep. I check in with my sponsor. But at 5 years sober now, I don't want to be at 5-6 meetings a week. Yeah, exactly. I want to be living my life and also showing what's possible.
Exactly.
But where do you think the sweet spot is? Like you're 12 now. Yep. What does that look like for you?
12. So I'm the same. I have a sponsor. I sponsor. I still work the program. I still do all the things. And then I give back. So I think the number one priority, or where things can go astray, is when people think that they're better than, or they don't have enough time to give back. Because the whole purpose of my life, I have my life today because I was given back my life. So I think as long as I'm engaging, I've still, got my home group, I'm still giving back regularly, consistently, but not just in this community, in my hairdressing community, in my local community. Like I'm going bigger, I'm going better. I'm thinking, how can I make a difference, not just in one space? And that means, I cut hair regularly for the homeless on Mondays in my local area. I'm a part of the community. I charge $200 for a haircut, but then I'll cut someone's hair for free. So it's like that kind of, because I have a life. So I'm just looking for ways to give back to the universe, because I think it's that type of energy that gives back to me and reminds me of how far I've gone, because I forget all the time because I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because I've really found myself almost grappling with where I sit within my own recovery, within the 12-step community at this point in my life. And
it's always this time.
Okay.
Because you've built a life, right? And you're like, oh. And yes, like I've got my people, and I choose my people really wisely. Do you know what I mean? I have my people that I call, and then when I'm at a meeting, I'm there to give back. I'm just talking to people, carrying however I can in my way, just getting out of myself
Yeah.
to be there for someone else.
I'm curious. I know we need to get to your photo, but I'm going to pick your brain on this topic a little bit more. Have you ever felt judgment around the way you show up?
I just don't care anymore. Absolutely. I've got a sponsee at the moment, actually. I've been sponsoring her for about 6 months. And when she first I started sponsoring her, she told me all her judgments. And I was like, oh, she used to hate me because of how happy I was and how much I shared the miracles and gifts of my life. She hated my guts. And I was just like, wow, thanks for sharing. But now I'm, helping her. And of course she hated me because it's like there's probably a part of her that
wanted that or didn't think it was possible for her.
Yes, or was resisting that part of herself and the gifts of life. And I am at a stage, and I never thought that it would happen to me, where I wouldn't care, especially in this particular community. I might care a little more in my industry as I'm growing my profile. I'm building, I'm making waves. There's talk now. People are starting to say things about me that I don't particularly like, and it isn't a safe space to be going to someone, I heard you said this and I'd like to pull it apart together. Like it's not a safe.
Would you mind if we
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's not I've thought about it,
Yeah.
but then it's like actually that's not what we do out there in the community either.
and
We
knowing
can
they
do
don't
it.
have a program?
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of people in my industry are absolute
Qualify for our program.
Totally. And they're the ones that have a problem with me.
Of course.
Because I'm sharing my story. I'm pretty open about it because I want to help people.
That's what I've always felt. That's why I created this podcast, and I know there's the whole belief that we should be anonymous and that we shouldn't be sharing on a public platform. But I just think to myself, even 5 years ago, I didn't see anyone on a public platform talking about alcoholism and addiction. I didn't, in the last 5 years, it's blown up or maybe it's just that I'm now in that space and so I'm getting fed it a lot more.
Yeah, of course.
But I can now see it. But back then I didn't. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I may have gotten this sooner if I had just had some identification out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think, it is interesting, and something that I think has been an interesting part of my journey for right now is just dealing with, how much do I care about the judgment, and also looking at, well, where am I judging others?
Yeah, for sure.
Because obviously I am in some way if I'm feeling
I'm judging
that.
people all the time. I'm like, I don't want your life.
Yes.
That's a judgment, but that's a healthy judgment, and that's okay. Yeah. Thank you for showing me what I don't want.
Yes.
I'm very clear on what I do want, and I stick with the strength. And the strength is often living a particularly big life outside in the community, running businesses, doing big things, running organizations, in government, making massive changes. Like they're my people, and it's a minority. So, and that's why I keep coming back, because I don't want to be a part of the ego that thinks I'm greater, I'm better than this, even though it gave back my life.
Yeah.
Like I am of no illusion that it's a very small price to pay for my spirit, and it's about me. I get by giving. So I think sometimes we can fall back into that self-centered, sick thinking.
Yes.
Oh, I don't need to do this anymore. But that's also, for some, but for me, I have been very committed to this life and this community, because it makes it easy for me. This is the space that I give back, but I give back in a lot of other ways as well. So
thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's talk about the photo. Sheridan, I asked you to bring in a photo today from a time in your life where you were hiding behind a smile. So you were presenting one version of yourself to the outside world, but the reality was you were struggling internally. So could you please firstly describe the photo that's coming up on the screen now for those who are listening along? What are we looking at here, and what was going on for you at that time in your life?
The biggest word to describe that time was denial. I didn't even know how much I hated myself. I didn't even know how much I was lying to myself. I didn't even know the choices that I was making and how much damage that they were causing me mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like I was just in a lot of pain. Like it was a lot of pain. I didn't even know how much pain I was in. And I'm just I feel really sad for her. I feel really, really sad for her because there was a point in my life where every weekend was the best weekend of my life.
When it was still working.
Right? Until it very quickly fell apart for me. Like I got clean at 20 years old.
Wow.
20 years old.
That's so young.
But it's got to be pretty fucked if you've got to get clean at 20.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like I celebrated my 21st birthday in recovery and that was also quite miserable, to be honest.
Absolutely. I can only imagine how hard that would have been.
It was pretty, daft. But, it's still like, thank gosh, I have grown up. I've grown up in recovery and I've been cleaner longer than I used for now.
Wow.
And that's also like I feel really grounded. Like this is the lifestyle for me. My brain has been rewired to a space that I can trust in myself. And back in that photo, I was believing my own lies. I wasn't able to admit who I was to myself or to anyone around me. I just couldn't be authentic. Whereas now it's just who I am. I am naturally authentic because I've rewired all the parts of myself that feel sick when I'm not. So, yeah.
Wow. You just said something so potent then. The parts of me that feel sick when I'm not. Can you expand on that for those who may not understand what we mean by the sickness?
Yeah, so I'm kind of going through it in a way at the moment, kind of going through another big transformation in my life at the moment or expansion, another one. I wasn't expecting this type of expansion and I just don't feel ready to share because I don't want the feedback. I don't want the energy. I don't need it. I don't need the validation. I just don't need it. I don't even want the celebration. I just want to be left in my own space, which is just not me because, you see me, I share so openly and so honestly. There's a part of me that feels like I'm not showing up authentically because I'm holding back this really big thing that's happening in my life that I'm not quite ready to share. So there's a part of me that doesn't want to show up at all because I just can't be really transparent and honest. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. Some days I feel like showing up, so I do. And the days that I'm like, I don't want to fake it. I just don't want to fake it anymore. Whereas I used to fake it every day.
We used to be so good at faking it, I imagine. We had to be, right?
Yes. And I'm still a very good chameleon. Like with my clients, I can fake it.
You have to be though.
Right? Because it's a client experience
Yeah.
and that means more to me than whatever it is that I'm feeling. And I leave my shit at the door because it's about them and it's about being of service and giving them the best thing that they've ever had and that they need. So
my first ever job was on the shop floor at Mecca when I was 18 and I ended up staying in that business for 10 years. And so I was client facing for 7 of those. And it's not up to you to have a bad day and put that on your client when they're coming through the door for a service. You know, if I'm doing makeup, like I'm not going to start talking about how shit everything is in my life. Like that's not when someone's paying for a service, you do. I remember learning that quote, fake it till you make it.
Yes, absolutely.
So it becomes a little conditioned.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I don't fully believe in faking it till you make it.
No, not
but
at all.
But there are days and there are moments you absolutely have to in customer service and client experiences. Like you just have to and I try to teach my team that as well because a lot of the time we're great with clients, but we've got team code as well where they'll show up and they'll bring their shit to the morning meeting and I'm just like, guys, you have a responsibility to each other to bring your high vibration and energy and not drain the team as well, especially in the mornings. We work big days. We'd work 5 days in 4 days. So it's like 38 hours, 10 to 9, 10 to 9, 10 to 9, 9 to 5. So we can have this work-life balance, which doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, but they love it.
Yeah.
So, but then it's like, so it's like we try to go beyond just the client. It's like, what do we do for each other? And how do we show up for each other? And so I'll hold people accountable to the way that they show up in the mornings as well.
So how do you then go from that client facing, I need to, and I'm doing air quotes for those who aren't watching, wear a mask to a degree,
Yeah.
to then moving into a space, whether it's when you get back home or you're on your break, and you know, how do you drop back into the authenticity of yourself when you have been wearing a mask because there's been a necessity to?
Yeah, I leave the shop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm, and the thing about recovery is I have had to learn to put things aside so I can show up. And I think what I've learned by doing that is an unbelievable resilience. You know, where some of the days I have been so in whatever's coming up for me that I have to just have a shower, get out the door, get to work. And then if it starts to come up, I make a quick phone call. But I even try to not do that because it brings it back up and it's not the right time. So weekends are my processing times. So by the time Friday comes, I've got my Friday weekly ritual. I finish work, I start to wind down, and Lord have mercy, it all comes up. And I'm like, or I go to my meeting and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, the tears. Like, so it's, and then Saturday comes and I'm like, like it's because it's my processing time. I might speak to a mentor or a mentoree. Like I'll just like, so it brings it all up, but that's the point.
Yeah.
So I just have learned how to compartmentalize and show up as a professional and lead by example.
I love that. I love that idea of leadership, and you know, you be it to allow others to see it.
Yes.
Big firm believer in that. Can we go back to Sheridan in the photo for a moment? At 20 years old, partying, using, what did an average day look like?
God. Oh, by that point I was using every day. I was working from home and I was like kind of doing people's hair in my scene as well. I was doing DJ's hair. I was even doing makeup at nightclubs and then getting paid like a DJ. Like it was like I just created this lifestyle to completely support my using, I think, and even the people around me. Like it just supported everything that I loved, which was avoidance. So it was pretty miserable. It was using every single day to feel okay, because what would happen, and I was reflecting on this recently, where it was like I would use all weekend. It'd get to Monday, I'd feel pretty still not bad, but then Tuesday, depression.
Terrible Tuesdays.
Oh my God. And I'd just be dragging my sorry ass to work. And then I'd feel pretty shit Wednesday. And then I'd start to come good Thursday. And then I'd be like, oh, Thursday night party.
Yes.
So I'd start drinking Thursday and then Friday, and then not sleep Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then Tuesday. So I just never wanted to feel that terrible Tuesday.
Yes.
So I'm like, what do? Just use every day, and then you never have to feel that terrible Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I only just had this reflection recently, actually. I don't even know where that came from, but it was just, that's why it ended up like that, because I just didn't want to feel, and I was always the last one standing. Always. I just never wanted to be on my own. And I ended up always being the last one, like when everyone's passed out, and I'd just be like,
still trying to make a phone call to see if anyone else can come around.
Yeah. But then it's like even recently I was going to get a croissant with my education manager, and there was this guy who I used to and he had 3 people in the car. He was beeping his eyes. And I was like, oh my God. And it was a Thursday morning. And I was like, I've been clean 12 years. He's still going. Still going.
He hasn't slept since you last saw him.
Every day. Like, I wonder how many psych ward visits he's had. Like,
yeah, literally.
And it made me feel sick. Like, and it's just like, because that was my life, and now it's not. Like, I'm walking out of my space. I'm with a colleague. We're speaking education and how we're going to change the industry with our apprenticeship program. And it's like there's these reminders of, wow, what a gift that you are here and, you know, how sad for him and where he's at in his life. So, yeah.
Was that desire to keep going something that was alive for you from the first drink or like drug? Like, how did that all start?
Well, when I first drank, I was like, it was never a sip. Like maybe a sip when I was 5 or 6, you know, trying the Madurian lemonades that my parents had left over from their parties. But when I drank to get drunk. I just never understood the concept of having one. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's when I'm like, I don't need to experiment. I don't need to go back and try a drink. Like because it just doesn't make any sense to me to have one. I know that about myself. That's how I started drinking. So I don't need to test it out 12 years later. And plus I've got way too much to lose. So I always drank to get drunk. And then I started using because I couldn't afford to drink the way that I was drinking out the clubs.
Right.
It was actually cheaper to use than it was to drink.
It's like $35 for a pill.
Well, maybe not when I first started. It was like more of a bag of Coke, you know, and it was the same kind of like spend your whole wage on a bag of Coke and
Totally.
$50 on some ciggies and have no money for the rest of my apprenticeship week. But then it's like so the cheaper drugs started coming in and it's like I even get like, it's just, I think the end of my using was so bad and I'm so grateful that the last batch of the worst drug in the world ever that sent me into deep psychosis for months. Like even when I was clean, I was in psychosis for 6 months. That's how intense my using had left me. But it was the worst batch I'd ever had in my life. So it's like when I think about that drug, that's the feeling I'm left with. So
great. So it's not the euphoria.
There's no euphoria. Yeah. There's no honeymoon. There's this drug that's laced with something else that's just, you're not even getting a high. Like it's just like you feel sick, you know? So that's how I feel when I think about my using. So again, I'm so grateful that that's how it went, you know?
So talk to me about that then. I'm imagining you would define that as your rock bottom
100%.
moment. And for those who aren't familiar with psychosis, how does that manifest?
So for me at that particular time, I hadn't slept for days. I was walking down the street. People were talking to each other, but of course they were talking about me, my skin color, and, you know, the radio, the songs, everything was like towards me. I was thinking that I was adopted. I was looking at my birth certificates, like just trying to go in full investigator mode, be like, what's happening? I felt like my mum was conspiring with me against all my friends and trying to like get me out of the nightclub industry. Like it was just dark. And so that was the intensity of it all. And then it started to subside. But then what would happen is I'd go to meetings and people would talk and share about how their wallet got stolen the week before. And then I'd be like, she's trying to say that I stole her wallet. Like it was intense. Like it was really, really intense. And even in the group therapy, you know, the guy who was leading them, maybe he was a little subliminal and playing a little on it, but it would be self-centered thinking at its finest, but times a million.
Yeah, like dialed up to the extreme.
Yeah.
Wow.
And scary because you don't know if it's real or not. And I remember speaking to another guy when I was in rehab who had schizophrenia, and I was telling him about it, and he's like, you know, you might have this forever because I do. And I was like, oh my God. And you don't know like if it's ever going to go away, but it did. And like I think I now know that I'm pretty self-centered in nature now. You know, sometimes I think people are talking about me when they're not, but I'm also very fucking intuitive. And I feel things and I see things and I read energy like better than anybody. They don't even have to tell me what's going on. So I've probably learnt to trust that part of myself as well and not doubt. Like now that I've done this deep work on myself and I'm very sensitive to energy. I'm just a sensitive human being. Like I always have been, and I've resented that part of myself. But now I'm like, actually, this is my superpower.
Yes, definitely.
And even my team, they don't need to tell me if they've got a bone to pick. I can feel it, you know? So I'm like, you know, What's going on? How you doing?
Let's have a chat.
Yeah, let's have a chat for sure.
Which is great because then things don't bubble up and you're able to really like clear the path and move with so much more ease and flow.
Which I read and heard something about leadership lately. If you're not checking in with your people, you're not leading.
Correct.
So we check in weekly, daily, monthly, and some. You know, I wish we could do it more because I'm a busy bitch, you know? It's like they want more of my time. So it's like, how can I do? That's where I'm starting to think more outside of how can I give them more of my time? Where can I pull back to give more of my time here?
Yeah, because that's the truth, isn't it? You can't just create more time. Something else is going to have to sacrifice.
That's it. And it's looking like the client experience because it's now about teaching my team how to serve in the way that I've been learning.
Which is the only way you can truly grow
a team.
Yeah.
100%.
Because you can't be everything to everyone and you can't actually multiply yourself. You have to be able to teach that.
Yeah. And I think when you are in the hairdressing industry or a boss, like you feel like you have to be on the floor to lead by example or what have you. Like I did this experience with I shared this thing that I was going through with a client today that, you know, she's been trying to stretch out her haircuts every 6 months. And for me, I'm not just a hairdresser. I don't want to just cut your hair. I'm thinking about your whole experience and how you feel going 6 months in between a haircut. I don't want that for you. And I'm the most ticketed hairdresser in my salon. So I've slowly but surely been saying to her, how about we get the apprentice to put your tint on? And then I can cut your hair. You're going to save this much money. And then we can cut your hair more regularly. How about that? And we finally got there, right?
Yeah, great.
But we finally got there and then she was about to say, no, I don't need to get a haircut the next time. I said, the reason why I got my apprentice to pop your tint on is because the density of your hair cannot handle 6 months between haircuts. Because what happens is you've got this beautiful density root to mid, and then by the time I see you, your ends just look terrible. It's like it's a feeling. I said, you don't come to me to feel like that. You come to me to feel good. So this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And I try to tell my team this because it's like all of their clients are leading the way. No, they're coming back in a year. But we're Mama West. Like we don't just do hair. Yeah. We care in a way that no one else does. I bet this lady's been getting yearly haircuts her whole life.
Totally.
But she's not only getting a haircut, she's carving out time from her 4 children, you know, her work, her problems. Like it's carving out that space. And I just think that's how I look at a hair appointment. It's this, you know, we're talking about mortgages increases, kitchens and, you know, all that stuff. I just think that's what makes me different. And I'm trying to teach my team how to care for them in a way that isn't, I'm not making any more money from that lady. Do you know what I mean?
In fact, you're offering a way for her to get more treatments and more experience for the same price.
Exactly. And I was able to communicate that in a way that she saw the value. Because there was a moment she was like, no, it's okay.
I don't want to pay more. It's what would have been going through her head.
That's it. But I was like, but then I reminded her, this is what we've just done. Can you please trust me? You can see anyone else in my team, but she wants to book in with me. I was lucky enough to get the tint in with the apprentice, but it's a tint and they're trained by me. Of course she can do it. So it's just one example of how I'm always going the next level for someone. I care so deeply and thanks to, you know, working a program and doing deep work on myself, I know how to care for myself. I know how to care for others. I know how to look after people, and people are my passion. Like I love people. I've loved people more than myself my whole life. Like I get a little bit emotional about that because I was just wired in a way that like it was always about other people, and I've just found a way that I can love myself, but I can love others, and I can, because of that authenticity and vulnerability, I think they feel safe with me because it's communicating in a way that, you know, you're giving your best. And, you know, hairdressing saved me. It saved me once, you know, when I was using, and then it saved me again when I got back into recovery because it was a space that I felt good enough in my skin. It was a space that I've been able to truly excel. And I still to this day have no idea how I've ended up in the spaces that I'm in right now. Like it's like, and I know now that it's the light within me that is working, not just me. Like it's like this is what happens when you discover who you are. It's not me putting myself in those rooms. It's like it's a collective of people that are, seeing my light, putting me forward for things. Like it's like it's a collective experience. So yeah, I just think you need to be looking for those passions in your life, because if you don't have them, what is it all for?
It's so true, isn't it? My own experience with getting into recovery was that, I'd been living a life that I thought society required me to live. And it was a very box ticking exercise.
Yes.
Get the house, get the husband, get the job. And so I was ticking along all the while feeling so empty inside, like the God-shaped hole that sat right about here was just like vroom, vroom, vroom. And I was like, well, that vodka's not doing it, and now that's not doing it, and now that's not doing it. And just in the end, I was just completely broken and lost, but also so far off my course.
Yeah.
The path that like God and the universe put me on, I had just completely course corrected or gone off onto the wrong path. And now I've course corrected into where I am now.
Yeah.
I stepped away from corporate. I started the podcast,
Yeah.
retrained as a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
But all of that was only revealed in removing the substance that disconnected me from spirit.
And this is the thing. And this is why when anyone says anything about me sharing my story, drugs were not the problem. They were my solution. And I was in a bucket load of pain that I hated myself so much. I lied about my age, my nationality, my identity. That's how much I hated myself. And I'd been through so much abandonment, neglect from my birth parents. Like it was just really hard to be in my skin. I felt unlovable. I felt unworthy, like not good enough. Like it's just, it sucked. So I think to be in a space now where I don't feel any of those things because I've been able to go inward, look at the reasons why I used in the way that I did, like it's the most empowering thing I've ever done. And I love that addictive part of me because I owe that part so much to my success. And she will always be like the doer in me. Like she is a powerhouse. And I think now I'm starting to discover a softer part of myself, my being energy, which is very fresh. I can't even talk about it because I'm still dancing. And seeing that part that you can be both. You can be all parts of who you are, like the good parts, the bad parts, the hard parts, the parts that feel like you're not good enough. I love that part of me because it's made me good enough. I have been so plugged into education because I've never felt good enough. And because of that, I'm the hairdresser that I am today because I've been obsessed with being good enough that I now am in a space that I feel that. And I'm still challenged by many different things, but I'm working on them religiously so that I can keep growing and I can keep evolving and I can keep getting better. And I'm never going to be where I want to be because of who I am, because I'll just want something else or more.
Do you think that's part of addiction or
100%.
Yeah.
I want more.
Like you achieve the thing and then you just move the bar higher.
That's exactly right. And a lot of people think that's toxic or unhealthy, but it's just who I am. And if I'm not doing that, I fear for my future. I fear for my family. I fear for what the hell I will do because I need to be expanding. I now look at that as a comfort zone for me is not a good space. I mean, yes, it probably would be nice to have a little bit of a comfort zone in my life, but I'm always just pushing to the next part, and not everyone wants to go there, and that's okay, but it's just who I am.
Yeah, I think it's almost like finding maybe the comfort zone. Maybe the comfort zone elicits within you restless irritability and discontentedness, so that's not where you want to live.
That is exactly what happens.
But the balance.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
But when you talked about the being, oh my God, I got chills. And I saw that there was a sparkle in your eye. I feel like you're starting to explore it.
I think what I've learnt about who I am is I can explore it in the day. So, like those moments of movement, those moments of meditation, those moments of taking a breath, eating my meal, that's all it needs to be for me. It doesn't need to be turning my phone off for 17 hours, completely disengaging from my business, my family, my life, my friends, like, and just, maybe it's just going on a holiday, doing something different. Like, it's still like just breaking the groundhog day. And I think that's why I love shooting collections as well, because it's like it's creating, it's not for anything or for anyone but me. It's going through the creative process of wanting to do something and make something and failing 5 times, but still getting there. So I think it's like that's how I do it for me. And I feel it when I'm with my son. I feel my heart opening in a way that 5 years ago, she was just too scared to let love in. So I think it's receiving, it's like abundance, it's being open and not sabotaging my business and believing that I can double my revenue and double my seats and double my team. Like that's what it looks like, even though it's 10 times more work, but then it's believing that I can attract the right people to grow my vision, my mission, my dream, which ultimately is helping people feel good, my team, the hairdressing industry, and my clients. So that's, it just looks different. It looks different of how I thought it was going to be, because I thought I'd be like, oh,
In the lotus position.
right. But it's not my lifestyle. I love like pushing myself. I love doing the award stuff. I love the creativity. I love going, not just interstate, traveling, breaking up my week that way, being part of the industry, being asked to talk on panels, that kind of stuff. Sharing with you, like this is what I love. It's sharing. I love sharing. And I'm so fucking extroverted. I get energy from this. So it's who I am.
I think as well, like I can see it, I can hear it, like it oozes out of you is you've found your path of purpose. And so there is a passion that fuels you, which gives you a superhuman energy that people who haven't tapped into that don't know how to access.
Oh, it's so true. It's almost painful sometimes. And I get emotional about it because I'm just thinking about someone that I love in my life that, hasn't experienced this in this particular area, but they have experienced it in others. Maybe it is that more being thing, that camping, being a parent, like, it's like that really just that is their purpose. And it looks so different to me. And sometimes that can be incredibly frustrating. But imagine if it was 2 of us that were like me, like it just wouldn't work.
That's
it couldn't work actually.
Yeah.
So it's like, the dance. And yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And it's important to remember I'm very much like you and I identify so much with what you've been saying, but also understanding when I look at, some of my friends and other people that are in my life who, maybe their purpose is to be the best mum in the world.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
That's what lights them up. And
For
I'm
sure.
like, that's amazing. And you're so right. Like we don't want 100,000 of us running around. Like we need, it needs to be all time. Be really noisy.
So noisy.
But no, like in the best kind of way. I think you're absolutely right. It's about when we talk about finding that purpose and that passion, it's not about necessarily being front facing or being extroverted or anything like that. It's the thing that lights you up, that gives you the energy.
Yeah.
Okay, I really want to go back to the fact that you were 20 years old when you stepped into recovery. Can you tell me, were you pushed through the doors of that rehab or did you self-admit?
It was like, again, universe opening up for me. It was, my best friend who was also my drug dealer. Like I was really close with his family, and his mum, I was doing her hair. Like, I think she could just see the struggle. And I remember when we moved into our house and I was living with a girl at the time and we had no fridge. We just had a little bar fridge, like with a clear door, and all you could see was like nothing in it. And she just bought us a fridge one day. Just didn't tell us, like, just doorbell delivery, you've got a fridge. And I was just like, she just loved me in a way I'd never really felt. Like, that's just, my parents weren't buying me a fridge, I'll tell you that much. So she had a brother who had a rehab, but they didn't paint that picture like that. They're like, oh, he's got a farm. It's like, if you ever want to take a break, like,
You're like, that sounds nice. I could take a break.
That's what I felt like I needed. And even like when push came to shove and I was ready to go, I was like, I don't think I needed to go. And she's like, having chats with me at 3 a.m. in the morning, being like, why don't you just try it? Give it a go. So it was, again, just this intervention. Like, I did not, like, how do you put those people in your path? And now he's clean, by the way. He's like 6 months clean or something, like recently after 12 years. Wow. And she's still in my life. It's just, she's like, she's just like, I wouldn't even call her the mother I never had. I would just call her an incredible, like a soul sister, soul mother. I don't know, but it was just this person that loves in a way I've never seen before. So she role models to me what that is and what it looks like. So that's what happened. It wasn't like and when I started going to meetings, I was like, the identification began.
And so were you going to meetings when you were at the farm or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the farm. They took us to meetings, and then that's how it all really began. But I was in rehab for 18 months because I was just so terrified to go back to my life. And it was just crazy. So
that makes a lot of sense because I see people that come through the doors in their early 20s and I think, firstly, I'm just so blown away that they've even walked through the doors. I just think it's so incredible. I was 32 by the time I got sober. But then to stick around. Yeah. And to, like, your 21st birthday, for instance, like nowhere on your vision board did you have being at the farm.
It was horrible. It was a horrible
Did you want to use that day?
I didn't want to use, but it was like, is this it?
Depressing.
And even to this day, when people say, build a life beyond your wildest dreams. Like, it's like, really? Like, there's been years, 5 years clean. Really? 7 years clean. Still had the level of self-hatred that I didn't have when I first walked through the door, but I was finally able to admit. So because I was finally ready, entirely ready, right? Like, and willing and able to get honest enough about it, that it was able to move. And then and only then, and now I'm like, a life beyond your wildest dreams. Because it's like, now what's happening for me, it's like I just finaled for I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional again, but I just finaled for the One Shot Hair Awards, which is like the biggest global hair awards ever.
I've got goosebumps, honey.
It's just like, it's the second year in a row it's happened, and it's like, this is for me why I do this, why I do push myself outside my comfort zone, because then you see yourself, and this has all happened in a very small amount of time. So it's like, it just shows that, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. And I've showed myself that, and then I can show others that too. So I think it's like being next to some of the best hairdressers in the world, and now seeing myself as not that yet. I don't know if I ever truly will, but just a glimmer of hope that that's where I am right now. Like, it's just like, it's that deep work, and that's what it is. It's just work. I've just worked really hard to get to that space. I've worked really hard personally. I've worked incredibly hard professionally, and now I trust in myself that no matter what happens in my life, I will just do the work. So I'll be able to work myself in or out of anything, because that is who I am. So it's like,
you've built that muscle.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, for sure. And I said to my friend, I sent him a message. I was like, mark my words, next year we'll be there together, you know, on a table with this particular collection that we're about to shoot. I just know it because that's just what we do now. Like, it's just who we are. So it's not an ego thing. It's just I believe that I can.
Yes.
You know, it's manifestation. It's like seeing it, and it doesn't happen if you don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's that complete rewiring of your belief system, which you shared about at the very beginning, which has all been a result of stepping into recovery, doing the work, showing up.
Getting uncomfortable, taking the shop, coming up against all of those beliefs again, taking the next shop, coming up against all those beliefs again, coming up against the next expansion, the next collection, that kind of stuff. It's like it comes up all the time. Whenever you push yourself to the next thing that you're expanding into, it comes up. Every bit of you doesn't want to go there because you know what I mean? It's like, but that is the work.
And I love what you've touched on tonight about failure.
Yeah.
That's part of the story.
It is part of it.
Because if you're not willing to fail, then you're not willing to grow.
And still, I've had a lot of success, right? Like, I've been pretty lucky. I haven't had too many failures. I had my first real failure this year where we put $30,000 into a cafe and it just flopped. And we didn't even have $30,000. It was like our tax money that we really could not afford to do. But I was just like, let's just give it a go.
Was it attached to the salon?
Attached to the salon. You know, we rented a 336 square meter space. The salon occupies about 200 to 210 square meters of that. And we're renting out space to a nail salon. There was a cafe that did start, but they bailed. And then we were just like, we'll just, you know, give it a go. And it failed. And it failed really quickly. But what that failure taught me was that was taking away from my dream.
I was going to say, because your passion isn't in coffee, right?
It's not in coffee, but it's in community.
Yeah, okay.
So I got a little lost. I'm like, you know, I love people. I love connecting. I love community. We'll just build another part of this and I'll just do the work and it will be fine and it will all work out. But it was robbing not just me, but my partner, because we were in it together. And he was kind of running the show, but it was also, he was the manager of our business as well. So we were losing him, we were losing me, we were working 7 days a week. Like it was taking away from my passion and my purpose and the real dream. So it's like we had to let something go and we had a few things come up. You know, we got robbed twice in 6 days.
My goodness.
It was horrific. Like, and again, I see these as gentle nudges.
Totally.
You know, the first time they stole the cash register, we were able to still trade the next day. We kept going, right? But then 6 days later, the 2 doors got completely smashed and we couldn't trade at all for like 5 weeks because you had to get the custom door made
Oh my gosh.
So we were shut for 5 weeks, right? And then we're like, should we give up? And then we're like, no, let's keep going because I'll just do the work and everything will be fine. And then finally we opened again and I'm trying to like make ends meet, make money. Now it's costing us more money having a cafe than what it would have been just to cover the rent, to be honest. Like we're losing thousands of dollars every single week because it costs money to pay wages. You know, we weren't earning a wage. Heath wasn't earning a wage, but we're paying a wage for a barista. And blah, blah, blah. And then this one day I was moving the stuff out of the cafe because we were just trying to like pay the rent and like get ahead. And my pinky finger got squished in the door moving this massive fridge. And everything was so crystal clear. What the fuck would I do without my hands? All I could think about was the workshop that I was going to have to cancel that day, which I was being paid for. All the clients that I'd have to cancel on because I don't have a hand to work. And I was just like, oh, it's taking away from, you know. So it was just this, again, that third time, rock bottom. You've got to let go. And it wasn't a failure. It was just like you can't do it all.
Yes.
Because what is the goal? What's the purpose? What's the dream? And the dream was always Mama West. That's what fuels me. That's what gives me energy. It's what gives our family energy. You know, my partner's in the business there as well, and it's like why we have our life today. So that failure still hurt like hell though, because $30,000, I've just never lost that kind of money before in recovery. So it was like initially, but actually I gained, you know, haven't had an injury since.
Totally. You do. That's where you learn the greatest lessons. Is in the failure and in the trying.
And it was my mentor at the time. She's like, Sheridan, do you want to lose your whole hand? Like, wake up. Like, you know?
Yes, which is so the important part of having a mentor, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who can see your blind spots.
Yeah.
And be like, come on, honey.
Yeah.
Let's look at that.
And she's the same. She's the same. She's like, oh, I remember when that happened to me. And then I broke my foot and couldn't work for this many weeks. I was like, no. We can't. No.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really curious to know, how do you go working with and being in relationship with someone in recovery?
I don't know it any other way, but what I will say is probably my biggest challenge, and my partner's, being with someone like me, we are just so different. We are so different, but I would say that he's almost has always been more ahead of where he is. Like even when I first met him, and this is when I knew it was pretty special, he sat down at this table and he asked me questions only about me, right? And it was like, oh, I really get this guy. Like I saw him. Like he was outside of himself. And I think that is kind of his nature. But also I've worked the steps 7 times. I will do breathwork weekly. I'll get up early, all that stuff. And sometimes I can project that same expectation onto him and be like, well, he's not doing it fast enough. But he just loves me unconditionally. He loves me whether I'm doing it, whether I'm not doing it. Like, so he's probably showed me his mum has showed me a love I've never felt in my life. So I see where he's come from. I see where I've come from. He's got this fundamental belief that no matter what, it's all going to work out. You know, like he actually believes that. It's almost annoying because it's like, no, you need to take responsibility. You need to know your finances. You need to, life doesn't work like that, you know, but then he's got someone like me that's hyper vigilant, that things are always going to work out because I'm going to do the work.
Because you
know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know if there's something there, but what it's frustrating for me because I'm like, I need you to meet me or at least take some of that load because it's heavy. So it's like, it's hard because, I'll make little digs at him and be like, how's that step going? Year after year, I'm like, whereas I just don't need the nudge. You don't need
You've already done it twice.
3 times actually. Right? So it's hard, but also really rewarding because, we've got the same values. He's a good man. He's challenged me in a way that I need to be challenged to slow down. He's challenged me in a way to be more family centered. He's challenged me in a way, even when I was in recovery, not paying my taxes, and he challenged me to start doing that. And now I'm probably too above board. Yeah. I've swung right the other way. And now I could probably afford to be a little, grey, but I'm just like, I like how this feels.
Yes.
And I've had so many miracles happen in my life because I started being and acting fit and spiritually principled in all of my affairs, not just the ones that I choose. And I've seen the magic that comes with that. Like I remember when I first started, I found my shop almost 2 weeks later. So it was like this weird kind of, this is what happens.
Yeah.
But it was being challenged. So he's diplomatic. He challenges me. I can hold it. I can hear it from him. So although it's challenging and I've thought sometimes the grass is greener, I just know what we've been through together. And there's been betrayal and there's been hurt and there's been suffering because it's like we're at different stages of recovery. But we just kind of work through it because of the unconditional love that he showed me and that I'm still learning to show him. He's better at it than me.
Yeah.
Because I have such high expectations on myself. And, you know, I've always got my mentor holding me accountable to that level of standard. And I'm always wondering, you know, we're in business together as well. So that can be challenging too because, you know, there are standards and there are professional kind of expectations. Which is probably the biggest challenge, and it probably won't work out for us long term because I am someone that does the work and he might not always be, but I need
it's also
someone.
your face and you're like.
He doesn't like being the face though.
Yeah.
And he never will.
But I guess that's also like part of the reason why like it's like there's almost that like you are showing up. It's your like at the end of the day.
It's my dream.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's what I recognize.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fine if like no one's going to get in the way of my dream. No one. No one. Like, so I think I've recognized that's my responsibility. That's mine, and I'm lucky and I'm grateful that I've got that. And his dreams are very different. His dreams are to be a dad. His dreams are to go camping on the weekends. His dreams are to go motorbike riding and exploring and doing fucking jiu-jitsu and CrossFit and whatever. And sometimes he tries a breathwork with me or something like that. So it's like that. And again, I'm not responsible for his dreams. I'm only responsible for holding mine. So I think I'm now at peace with accepting that and knowing that because of who he is, he might not be the right person in this job or role or whatever. And that's okay too. So it's like, and then we can be a bit happier in our personal lives because it's so intermixed when it's recovery, relationship, and then business. Like it's just probably a little too mixed. Exactly. But, you know, you only know by being in it. And we've been able to, both acknowledge that and accept that and, again, try something new. So,
Sheridan, oh my God, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. I've just got 2 more questions if that's okay.
Of course.
Okay, all right. So I want to know, what does your spiritual life look like at this point in time, 12 years down the line? Do you pray? How do you make conscious contact? What does faith look like for you?
So I think it's definitely, I want to talk about my most recent New York experience and how these new experiences that I think have really channeled through all of our conversation and that up-leveling, that expansion, that I am forced in those moments to connect with something greater than me. Because what I'm trying to do, my fear is coming up, my ego is coming up, and I need to be able to hand that over to something greater than me. So I will ask universe to give me the courage or the faith that I need to be able to move through this. I'll ask universe for a sign as well when I'm looking for things. So I'll talk about 2 things that just came up for me. But in New York, I was up for another global award in a category that I just never dreamed of even being in. And I wasn't going to go. Like I thought about going, but I was like, I'm just not going to go because it's just too hard. I've got to reschedule clients. It's hard on the family. So I let it go. And then I randomly just booked a random trip to Sydney because there was this educator from the UK down and I loved his work. Like I just really resonated with his work. He also brought up a lot of childhood stuff for me around some of the culture that he was talking about. My mum and dad were very much into the same cultures, so it was kind of helping me appreciate where I came from because of understanding the subcultures that he was talking about, the skinhead culture, all that kind of like punk culture, and because that's who my parents were. They were goths, they were punks, they were just really alternative, and I think that's why I've got this kind of unique creative flair. But anyway, I randomly booked this trip to Sydney. I was at this dinner and this hairdresser said, Sheridan, I saw you're up for the award. Are you going to go? I was like, I was going to go, but it's just too hard. I can't go. And then she said to me, you've got to go. You've got to go. And I was like, I've got to go. She's like, you've got to go because the same thing happened to me. And this time, like I'm now in the States teaching hairdressing. So if that's what you want, that's what you've got to do. The networking, the relationships that you'll build, like it will just be incredible. So I was like, I got to go. So I left that dinner. I rang Heath. I was like, Heath, I've got to go. And I'm going on my own. Like, I've just got to go. And it's in 2 weeks. I'm going to New York, and this is just what I've got to do. And a little bit of, oh, but this and that, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I got what I wanted. So love that man, because he does always usually give in to whatever crazy thing I'm saying. And then I'm in New York City, and I'm in, like, I just had the most profound spiritual experience where I was like, wow, the world is so big, and I'm just a tiny drop in the ocean, because now I'm 30 hours across the world, and I'm in an industry now where, like, no one really knows me, but by the time I left, I'd made the deepest connections and relationships with some of the best hairdressers in the world.
Wow.
And it was like I walked into these doors that literally opened for me. Like, it was like, and then I was like literally in the toilet being like, because it's like rock star hairdressers. Like, I'm not even, like, the best ones you've following, that you've watched their work forever, and I'm just like, how did I get here? Like, and it was just, I came back from that trip and I was reminded of that thing that we were talking about earlier, that it's not just me. The light within me is being guided, because I'm like, how did I get there? How did I even get nominated? How did I even, like, I was so celebrated and recognized that by Hairbrained, which was the platform. They all knew me by name. Like, I just felt so special, right? And that's when I was like, yes, okay. So I felt deeply connected, because I am someone that does the work. Sometimes I'm like, well, I just did it. It was all me. Didn't get any help from the universe. It was just me, because I do the work, and that's probably that sick part of me that wants me to believe that. But then on the flip side, it's like I just got asked to hair direct Fashion Week this year as well, which was very exciting. But again, it's like I felt, and I was a bit surprised by this one, but because I wasn't expecting it, but I felt that, am I good enough? Can I do this? There's so many things that can go wrong at Fashion Week.
Of course, and a lot that's out of your control.
That's exactly, which is,
Yeah, I've been backstage many times.
Right? Like, it's your worst nightmare, because there's so much things that are out of your control, but you're the director and everything falls back on you.
Correct.
You got to fix the problems. And I think because of that level of so many things outside of my control, the fear came up in a way that I just hadn't experienced that like that in a while. And I got really sick as well, and I probably shouldn't have even gone, but I'm just the person that's like, no, resilience, just show up, blah, blah, blah. But I was in Sydney. I just asked for a sign in Sydney. Please give me a sign that it's going to be okay, and that I can handle this and work out whatever problem comes up. Like, it's all going to be okay. And as I'm going to get dinner, there's this sign down this road that I've been many times. And when I ask for a sign, I'm asking for a peacock, because it's pretty random, right? And I turn to the right, and there's this big sign that says peacock nails. And I was like,
Stop it.
oh, I was like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I literally said thank you so times, because I was so anxious and so nervous. And from then my shoulders were back. I knew I had what it took. I'd prepped my little hands out. I'd already settled the look with the designer. She was happy. Everything was working out. Like, and, yes, there were still challenges on the day, but overall it was a great experience. I got amazing feedback from her. We'll probably work together again, hopefully. Like, so it's, and there's always learning experiences, but I'm always thinking, what did I learn from that? How could I have done better? So it's like to bring that into the next thing, because this is the second time I've done it now. So I think I actively, consciously, all the time am asking for guidance, not in a way that like, and my will and my life over to the care of God. Like, that's not like, and I remember even when I used to plank in my first 6 months of recovery, I'd just say, God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Because by the time the serenity prayer was over, the plank was over. So it was like this, just getting used to the idea of praying. But now it's very specific. it happens to me sometimes. It wakes me up. It gets me out of it. And meditation has always been something that, breath work has been something that has connected me so much like to myself, but to everything. Like it's, you know, just those feelings like being in my body.
Yeah.
You know, like that's often, oh, where was I? Like, so I think it's those tools that help me live this life and help me hold my life, because I need my recovery. And I get really emotional again, like finishing on this, because I need it more than what I did 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I probably could have used for another couple of years and did some damage to myself and my, you know, had more guilt and shame and hated myself even more than what I did. But now, if I lost what I lost, you know, I built a reputation in my industry. They don't know who I used to be. They know who I am now. Like, you've only got one reputation in our community, in the hairdressing industry. So I'm very, very, very mindful and grateful that I've got these principles that I live by, because if anyone says anything about me, I don't fucking care, because I'm doing,
You know that you're living in alignment.
100%.
You're doing the right thing.
And I don't need to prove myself to them. I don't need to beg for their mercy or approval. Like, I don't. And there are times that I still want that. You know, I ebb and I flow, but I just remember who I am, what I'm trying to do, and the impact that the legacy that I'm trying to leave, and how much more important that is. And then the rest is history. People will know. People will be able to read between the lines, like, and more will be revealed always. So just trust in all of those. So I'm incredibly grateful to live the life that I live. It's a privilege. It's an honor. And I owe it to the people that have walked the path before me, that carried the message, that guided me back to myself. And now I love being able to give that back to others. And I need other people in my life that can help guide me to places I still haven't been, because there's so much more.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful thought to finish on. We do have one final question.
Please.
And it's a closing tradition on the show. So my question that I have for you, Sheridan, is, what are your 3 non-negotiables that allow you to live your life today happy, authentic, and free?
My 3 non-negotiables is honesty. I think that is I'm just someone that doesn't sit on, like, even I just don't sit in my head. I'd rather pick up the phone, get honest with someone, send a text, say how I'm feeling. Sometimes that's not the right thing to do, but it's I just can't sit in that for very long.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm an action girl. It's the collaboration. It's that, you know, connection. It's that processing together that really moves me outside of that. So honesty, I think for me, moving beyond the comfort zone is an absolute non-negotiable, and who I am. Like, I think that is why I love life now, because if I had settled for 7 years, you know, where I was at that space, I would have robbed myself. I would have just robbed myself of everything I've ever dreamed of. Like, I get so emotional even just saying that. I'm such a sensitive Sally. And yeah, my non-negotiables, I say yes to everything to my own detriment. Like, sometimes it's probably not the best thing. It's very, very, very rare that I say no to an opportunity, because, you know, the people that you meet, the feelings that you have to go through, the learning that you might receive. Like, I just love life and people and connecting. So yes to everything.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for saying yes to being here today. I'm beyond grateful. I have literally gone completely off script. I had all these questions written down. I was just being so engaged in your story.
I love the flow.
Whole time. It's been so beautiful and
good.
rewarding, and I can't thank you enough.
Of course.
We say here on Behind the Smile that when we recover loudly, no one need suffer in silence. So thank you so, so much for being here today.
Got me.
And good luck.
Thank
I can't wait to hear how you go.
Oh, thank you so much. Bless.
Thanks, Sheridan.